Welcome to Uncharted and Unfiltered, the journey back to you. I am Cynthia Jameson, your host, and this is where we break free from the noise and dive deep into what truly matters you. If you're tired of the shoulds, the expectations, and the pressures to fit into a mold that doesn't serve you, you're in the right place. This isn't a podcast about easy answers or sugar coated advice. This is your invitation to reclaim your path, embrace the unknown, and become the bold, unapologetic version of yourself that's been waiting to show up. It's time to get unfiltered. Let's get started. Hello, hello, friends, and welcome back to the podcast. This week's episode of Uncharted and Unfiltered, A Journey Back to You, is inspired by an exchange that I had over my DMs with someone on LinkedIn. And I just think that's so cool. So I thank them for not only having the conversation with me, but also then enabling me to create a podcast episode so that I could give valuable content to you. So we're just going to dive right in. Have you ever wondered why some people skyrocket to the top of their careers while others who are just as smart and just as capable, maybe even you, seem to stay stuck? So here's the truth. It's not just about how technically skilled you are. It's not how many hours you put in. It's about how emotionally intelligent you are and how much you trust your intuition. I invite you to stay with me here. So, today we're going to go on a deep dive into why these two skills, emotional intelligence and intuition, are the real game changers in leadership. Now, if you're a high achiever, if you're a new leader, or if you're someone who's ready for the next level, please stick with me. This might be exactly what you need to hear. So, first, let's talk about emotional intelligence, what it really means, and why it matters, especially if you want to lead, grow, or not just burn out at work. Now, a lot of people hear the term and think that it's some soft skill that's off to the side. But honestly, it is a skill. It's the foundation for how you show up in high stakes conversations, in how you build trust, and in how you lead yourself and your team and your organization with integrity, especially when things get hard. And I don't know about you, but I've said this probably so many times on the podcast, but things are getting really hard right now, which is why I want to talk about this. So here's how I break it down. Self awareness is knowing what you're feeling when you're feeling it. It's being able to say, oh, I am frustrated right now. Or, oh my gosh, this is making me feel so anxious without judging it. There's the caveat, just noticing it. Now, most people skip this step and they go straight into reacting. And that's why this is so key. Because the second piece of this is self regulation, which is now that you have this awareness, what do you do with it? Can you pause? Can you stay grounded and intentional instead of snapping, of avoiding, or spiraling? Because it's not about being calm all the time, right? It is about being in charge of your response. It's choosing not to fire off a snarky email or disengage completely, even though your brain might tell you that would feel really amazing. It's not that. It's the inner conversation that says, let me take a breath. You don't need to react from this place. Let me shift my energy to there, to another place and space when I can come back to this. And it's also not about suppressing emotions. It's about having the power to pause and choose your response from a place of intention. This brings me to the third piece, which is empathy. And this is something that is desperately needed in organizations more now than ever. And empathy is tuning in to what someone else might be experiencing, even if they're not saying it directly. It's being able to sense what's not being said and to respond in a way that builds connection, not distance or not separation. And whenever we're judging, that's what we're doing. We're creating distance and separation. So it's not to judge, it's to be curious. So what it looks like is when your colleague snaps at you, instead of getting defensive, something in you could wonder what's going on behind the scenes for them. And this is, again, this shift from judgment to curiosity. And in making that shift, you create space for that connection with them. And this brings me to the last piece of emotional intelligence, which is relationship management. This is the glue. This is how you navigate conversations. It's how you resolve tension, how you give feedback and motivate people. So whether you're leading a team or whether you're working cross-functionally, or working across departments, this is where trust is built or broken, right? It's when a project goes sideways and tensions are high, which happens all the time, but instead of retreating or pointing fingers, the blame game, you initiate the hard conversation. You listen, you acknowledge, and you lead from a place of calm, not chaos. That is where trust is built or rebuilt. So, why does this matter? These four areas, self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and relationship management, they are the core of emotional intelligence. And in today's world, I don't know about you, but we need more leaders who practice these skills every single day. Why does it matter? Because it's about being effective. Now, I have been on both sides of the corporate world. First, as an HR professional for decades, sitting at the table with executives, making critical decisions about hiring, about firing, about promotions, about leadership potential. And now, as a leadership coach, guiding high achieving professionals, I bring what I think is a rare 360 view of what truly drives success at work. I have seen brilliant, absolutely brilliant, technically skilled people hit a ceiling, not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked emotional intelligence. And again, now I'm on the other side of the table where I'm helping leaders cut through that noise to help them find their voice and lead from a place of clarity and purpose within themselves. And so from years and years, or let me just say it differently, decades of observing patterns in performance reviews, in promotion decisions, in human behavior, in leadership behavior, I can tell you with confidence, emotional intelligence is not a bonus skill. It is the deciding factor between staying stuck and stepping into your next level. So I want to give you a bit of a scenario. You're hitting your targets. You've got all the creds, maybe even the experience, and yet you don't have this promotion that you want. Why do you think that is? Because you can't navigate the emotional dynamics of the workplace. You lose your cool, you can't read the room, or you struggle to build trust. And you have thoughts about all of that. When you have thoughts about all of that, then you have feelings that coincide with that feel terrible. And it manifests itself in strange ways. This is work I do with my clients all the time. And I want to just say this because this comes from a place of deep compassion because I've been there. Like literally, all of these things that I'm sharing here with you, I did all of them. So I know that you can be brilliant at what you do, but if you don't know how to regulate your emotions, and if you don't learn how to do that, if you don't learn how to manage relationships and stay grounded under pressure, you will hit a ceiling. And again, it's not about being smart. It's about how you make people feel. Now I feel the need to say this again to be super clear. Emotional intelligence isn't just about being nice. It's about being able to stay present, to respond with emotional agility instead of reacting, and to lead people in a way that builds connection and trust. And a lot of this is about you trusting you. So this is not a nice to have anymore. There was a time and a place that it was a nice to have. And I remember being in organizations when I would hear that, well, that would be amazing if they had that. But they don't. They have these skills, so let's hire them. But now it's a leadership non negotiable. Leadership isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's absolutely not. It's about being the calmest in the storm. And there are so many. We can just look to the world stage and see this playing out, right? So EI is the ceiling or the elevator in your career growth. So if you want to climb the ladder, I invite you to start doing so by managing your own emotions. And if you want some support with that, I would suggest And I can make invitations. You get to decide if you RSVP to them. But I would invite you to listen back to episode 52 of Who Are You to Lead Anyway, which is this podcast. The name just changed. And it was called Achieving Emotional Mastery, a guide for new leaders. There is a lot of really good value in that episode. There's a feelings wheel that I allude to that I provide in the show notes. There's everything you need to be able to support yourself with that. So now I want to talk about something that often gets brushed off as woo, and that is intuition, because this is the one of the most underused and underrated leadership tools in the corporate world. I have heard it being labeled as soft or fluffy, and I know from experience that it could not be further from the truth. Now, again, as a former HR professional, I sat across from thousands of candidates. I did so much interviewing. And there was a point in time I worked for a manufacturing organization and I was interviewing hiring managers. I was analyzing exit interviews and I've studied what makes people thrive or fail in their roles. I don't have like white papers and all of that. I don't need any of that. I have experienced it because I've had the conversations. I've been with the people. And what I can tell you is something that I saw time and time again, which was this. The the most costly missteps did not happen because someone didn't know. They happened because someone didn't trust what they already knew. Because there was always a red flag. There was always a gut nudge. There was always a moment where something didn't feel quite right. But the warning signs were often overridden in the name of logic, performance metrics, or polished resumes, or personal connections. And when that gut sense was ignored, regret usually followed. So here's what I want you to know. You can avoid all of that. First thing, intuition is not magic and it's not reserved for a select few. This is something that at this point in my life, I'm going to be next week, I'm going to be 59. And what I would say is intuition is embodied wisdom. This is your nervous system recognizing patterns that your subconscious mind hasn't named yet. It's experience, it's energy, it's your body. Yes, even your soul saying, pay attention. Now, I have coached high achieving professionals who checked every box on paper, but deep down, they knew something was off, whether it was a job, a boss, or a deal. And whether they ignored that, like every time that they ignored that inner voice, here's what happened: burnout, decision fatigue, and misalignment. That's what followed. But when they listened to that voice, when they honored that voice, they made quicker, cleaner, clearer decisions. They moved with clarity. I guess I just said that. And they stopped outsourcing their power to other people's opinions or the illusion of certainty. Intuition is not a luxury. It is a strategic edge. It's what helps you move forward with confidence, not just competence. So, if you've ever second guessed a decision, if you've ever hesitated, even though the data looked right, or felt something in your gut but you didn't act on it, that is a sign to start tuning in because your gut, it's not guessing, it's guiding you. Let me share a quick story with you. Now, one of my clients, a senior leader, was in the middle of a really tough season. Deadlines were brutal, the exec team changing direction again, her team was exhausted, and normally she might have pushed through, put on a brave face, powered forward. This is what we see in the world right now, right? So I'm pretty confident it sounds familiar. This is reflective of the world right now. However, this time my client did something different. She paused. She tuned into her team. She acknowledged the stress. She acknowledged the humans and their concerns. She heard them all. She created space for honest conversation and adjusted expectations without lowering the bar. That's emotional intelligence. It's not just pretending that everything is fine at all. It is about being grounded and composed in the chaos. That move, it deepened trust, it boosted morale, and ultimately helped the team perform better because they felt seen, they felt heard, they felt acknowledged. They felt like somebody here has witnessed and created space for me to be myself and share my concerns. So, emotional intelligence isn't about being soft. It is about staying steady, clear, and connected when everything is spinning. It's a leadership superpower, and it's something you can learn. So, what can you do with all of this, what I'm saying here today? I want to offer you three quick takeaways. The very first one is to start by building your emotional self awareness. So before you react, I invite you to pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? And why am I feeling what I'm feeling right now? The second step is practice empathy. Don't assume you know what your team or your peers are experiencing. Ask, be curious. The third piece, listen to your gut. When something feels off, don't ignore it. Your intuition is a tool, not a weakness. These are simple but powerful shifts, and they can change everything. You don't have to overhaul your personality at all. You just have to start paying attention. So here's what I know for sure. The world needs more emotionally intelligent, intuitive leaders right now. Leaders who can show up with clarity and compassion, leaders who don't just get things done but bring people along with them. I don't know about you, but we're not having children to the rate that we used to, and things are changing. The war on talent was lost long ago. So whether you are new to leadership or you're seasoned and ready for your next chapter, these skills will be the skills that will help set you apart. So if this episode resonated with you, pass it on to someone else who might need it. And if you want to grow deeper into building your own leadership toolkit, I would love to talk. You can reach out to me anytime. Thanks for listening. I'm cheering you on always, and I will see you next week. Goodbye. I hope that you're walking away feeling more aligned with your true self, more confident in the choices ahead, and ready to leave the safe path behind, knowing you've got everything you need within. Remember, the journey to you isn't about finding one perfect direction. It's about trusting yourself enough to explore all of it. If you're ready to dive deeper, join me for the next episode and don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss the next step on your path. I invite you to join my mailing list at www.cynthiajamesoncoach.ca, where we'll deepen our relationship and you can claim your copy of Your Inner Compass, a guide to charting your course to authenticity. Until next time, stay unfiltered, stay true, and most importantly, stay you.